The thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at Nine News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at Nine News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at Nine News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. It is Friday, October 27th, and today is National Civics Day. Oh, yeah, we just saw that yesterday in the house. It's also National Black Cat Day, National Frankenstein Friday. The Olive Garden is going to clean up today because it is also National Breadstick Day. And what goes better with breadsticks other than National American Beer Day? And oh, man, you guys are going to love this, Dr. Scialdone. It's also National Pharmacy Buyer Day. I'm assuming that is for the buyer at all the pharmacies that buys all the drugs, similar to a dispensary. And it is
Drugstore.
what's that?
Drugstores
Oh,
paid
National.
for by drug insurance
Yes,
at
that's
drug company.
for sure. And it is also Navy Day. Go Navy. Well, thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high at noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. Use that fancy little QR code somewhere on your screen to find out where we live on the internet. And we're live every Monday through Friday on YouTube. And we are all now also streaming on Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, and Facebook. So welcome to everyone joining us from all of those audiences. But kicking it off first, we have the dope dad himself. It's Rico Lamitte, the gout champion of LA. That's right, here to save the day. Oh, yeah, it is the dope dad himself. It is Rico Lamitte.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. All right, Jason. I got a doozy today, man.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
And I'm going to be quick. I abbreviated this one. I highly recommend everybody read the full article on High at Nine News because some crazy shit's going down. So if you come across an ad on Craigslist with someone offering to pay you cash just to apply for a cannabis license, it's probably a scam. But hey, it's 2023 and we're not that far off from having a convicted felon running for president from a jail cell against an old man who can barely speak and or walk on his own anymore. Anything's possible in America.
Yeah.
So I've been working with, and adjacent to cannabis social equity applicants and operators since I was first introduced to the concept by Virgil Grant here in Los Angeles back in 2017. Over the years, as social equity has evolved, I've seen scammers and predatory lenders of all sizes and types target eligible applicants in efforts to cheat them out of their fair share of the green gold. But I've never seen anything quite like this. The Missouri Independent did a deep dive yesterday on a Michigan company putting out online ads offering to pay eligible social equity applicants to enter state lotteries. But in fine print in the contracts, it was revealed that said applicants are also forced to relinquish all control and profits if they actually win the licenses. Missouri cannabis microbusiness licenses are designed to boost opportunities for businesses in disadvantaged communities, and it was part of the constitutional amendment to legalize recreational cannabis that voters passed last year. But folks like 56-year-old Rockford, Illinois resident James Harnden found a way to join the neighboring state's program on Craigslist. Per the article, Harnden's been a longtime activist for cannabis legalization ever since he got slapped with a low-level felony possession charge for having just an ounce of weed on him. He says that the charge cost him countless job opportunities for 30 years, but earlier this year he saw an advertisement in the Craigslist gigs section posted by a Michigan cannabis real estate group called Cannazoned MLS. They were looking for partners who qualify as a social equity applicant to participate in Illinois' lottery to award cannabis business licenses that are, in part, meant to benefit people impacted by marijuana criminalization. The Craigslist ad read like this: if you are eligible and provide the required documentation, we will give you $2,000 just for helping us submit the lottery application. If we win the lottery and secure a license, we will give you an additional $20,000. Sounds like a great deal. Harnden says what he didn't realize was that he signed a contract agreeing to hold 100% ownership interest on the application, but that he would not get revenue or profits from the business. After the business passed through all the state and municipal approvals, the contract stated that Harnden would be required to sell his share of the business for $1 to the group or be held in breach of contract. The contract also authorized the group to enter Harnden's information into lotteries for social equity cannabis licenses in other states. And that's how Harnden says he got paid $500 to be part of the lottery for Missouri's micro business license program. Harnden was eligible to apply in Missouri because of his past cannabis charge, which is among 7 eligibility categories that also includes living in census tracts with high poverty and unemployment rates. Canazone's Jeffrey Yatuma is listed as the quote unquote authorized agent on the contract Harnden provided to the independent, leaving a space for his signature at the bottom. Yatuma secured 2 of the 16 social equity cannabis licenses in Columbia and Arnold, issued earlier this month, according to information obtained by the independent through a public records request. Those records show Yatuma is listed as the designated contact for 104 of the 1,048 applications for dispensary licenses in Missouri's lottery. Per the article, Yatuma's group was not the only one using the strategy of flooding Missouri's lottery with applications to obtain a dispensary license. The Arizona-based consulting firm is connected to more than 400 dispensary applicants, including 6 winners, and a Missouri firm is connected to more than 80 applicants and 2 winners. Both said that their clients did not advertise or promise payment for submitting applications. In at least 3 states holding lotteries for social equity cannabis licenses this year, Illinois, Maryland, and Missouri, Yatuma's group has offered to pay eligible people up to $2,000 to apply on their behalf and $20,000 more if they win. With the Craigslist ads posted in Missouri, you can't see them anymore online, but a screenshot of a similar ad posted by Cannazone in Illinois was included in a story by the Chicago Sun-Times. Ads are currently up in Maryland, where the state's social equity cannabis application service opens up on November 13th. And provided with a copy of Harnden's agreement, Yatuma claims that his company never signed any agreement along the lines of the one that you mentioned. He said that the agreement was part of early business discussions, and his group made a similar argument earlier this year when efforts to secure licenses in Illinois faced criticism. The parties never moved forward with the referenced document, and the states subsequently provided guidance advising on how to structure the partnerships, Yatuma said in the email to the Independent. In our experience with new laws, it's frequently important to begin business discussions and then be prepared to pivot. This guy's good. Sounds like he has Trump's lawyers. And finalize a partnership when new state guidance is announced. Yatuma said that he's aware of the micro business dispensary licenses must continue to be majority owned by an individual who meets at least one of the eligibility qualifications outlined in the Constitution. The article is pretty lengthy and chronicles several applicants' stories of how they got bamboozled into these schemes, and it's worth checking out at high9news.com when y'all get a chance. As California prepared to legalize adult use cannabis, the idea of social equity licensure began to catch fire. The world's 5th largest economy was soon to become the world's biggest opportunity for business owners, large and small, to get involved in the green rush. The fact weed was soon to be legal, and those who'd given up their freedom for the same businesses that the privileged suburban white men destined to dominate this industry were about to price them out of participating in, didn't sit well with pretty much anybody except for those chads. But since nobody from state to state, municipality to municipality can even agree to what true social equity is or who deserves to qualify, we're going to see more and more scams like this pop up, and they're going to evolve. And we'll see what happens next. Follow the money. My name is Rico Lamitte for the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News. I'd like to hear from you guys. What do you think about this, man?
Oh man, I can't wait to hear what Dale has to say about this. Oh boy, but I will say, you know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of like social equity applicants like just covering the field at a roulette table, and no matter what number wins, they're winning.
Play the field.
Yes, that's what this
Always
reminds me of.
That's
One big roulette table.
That's the worst bet on the craps table.
No. But they're covering the field on the roulette table, and the roulette table, they have very high odds if you hit your point.
Yeah, it's
and that's
predatory, but hey, look.
Predatory. It's the American way.
Is
right?
it predatory?
Like, I'm waiting for
it's a predatory
Jason
nation
to pop this up. Look, there are so many conflicts here, because if you look to say the Oakland Social Equity Program, sorry, it's actually called the Race and Equity Program in Oakland. That particular program disallowed participants, and there were several like this, that disallowed participants from selling their permit to anyone other than another social equity applicant. And so a couple years ago, when shit was popping and these licenses were worth something, they could not turn what they had done into generational wealth. They couldn't sell it. They were stuck with it no matter what, even if being able to sell it is what got them over the line. They couldn't bring people in properly for investors to be interested. And so not allowing social equity individuals to monetize their investment is also like it's part of the problem, right? But then you find individuals that are willing to, like, every time there's a new rule or law put in place, there's a new workaround or loophole to thread the needle through. And so it's this, who's losing are honestly the workforce, number one, because we're super focused with equity programs on entrepreneurship instead of jobs with dignity, which is where most people want to be, is just give me a good job, one job with dignity, not having to work for in order to earn a living. And so it's the focus of where these dollars are going is part of the problem, but we can't pretend that this is a good thing for a social equity applicant to sell out their opportunity for $20K, because these folks know that it's worth way more than that.
Way more millions.
Mm-hmm. Very, very, very true.
But this is why me and Jason call it
socialist equity. Yep, exactly why.
It's never going to happen in America.
Mm-hmm.
I truly believe that the messaging from the jump was flawed when you're promising people generational wealth.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, a lot of people were sucked into opportunities that just did not come into fruition. And we see that, New York has gone through every phase of the bamboozlement that California has seen over the last 7 years in their first 10 months of operation. Mm-hmm. Right? People are getting screwed over with this. And if you want to say that this is the opportunity that they say that they are given, like you're just lying. You're lying to yourself, and you're lying to anybody that you spread that bullshit to, mm-hmm. As well. If you want to call this like reparations light or whatever, what a lot of people were trying to frame it as in the beginning, like, just stop. It's not reparations. If you don't know how to run a business, like, chances are you're not going to succeed in mm-hmm. this industry. If you do know how to run a business, chances are you're not going to succeed.
Very true.
So,
very, very true.
We need reparations. Reparations is reparations. Social equity is not reparations.
Mm-hmm. It was also, though, about not locking people out that had been justice involved. Like, that was one of the key tenets of the original, like, I was there fighting to make sure that we weren't disallowing people that had been arrested, been in prison for weed, to now not be allowed to own or run a business if that is what they chose. And, at the end of the day, not to not take all the tax dollars and just put it back into rearresting people. Those were the two big goals, is let's not just keep doubling down in the neighborhoods and communities with more and more law enforcement by just dumping it into the general fund. Let's reinvest in the communities that were most impacted. And what reinvest in the communities turned into are these entrepreneurship programs only. And I'm just going to go back to underlying workforce, just good jobs with dignity. And there are a lot of social programs like early childhood development that are going to have a lot more bang for your buck at the end of the day for improving these communities and their outcomes. Clean water in fucking Missouri is a great start. Just saying.
Right.
Clean water. And on that, I think
There's many ways we can reinvest. I just don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater, because there are good outcomes. The king of weed on Haight Street is the legal king of weed on Haight Street. He's been selling weed for over 20 years, John Richard. Now he's legal. Now he's getting paid and getting pieces of companies because of his knowledge. That's a success story. That is a social equity program success story. Let's not cut out the opportunity because of the failures. Let's address the failures and find the successes and uplift them and just rinse, wash, repeat.
You know how I word that, Dale? You know how I always word
what works. What works.
I always word that as don't make the bad the enemy of the good.
I just want to, if you're in this and you have been in this, you poured everything into it. Like, I'm not telling anybody to quit. I'm not telling anybody to get out of the game. Like, there's a lot of people who have stuck through it and have been successful. Like, it's awesome. But we do have to recognize that they are exceptions to the rule, right? It's not an easy, repeatable
All
process.
entrepreneurship is exceptions to the rule, though, Rico. Like, that's my point, is let's not only invest in the very few that, 5% make it. So go look at restaurants. 95% of restaurants fail in the first 2 years. Full stop. Just bye.
Right.
Reason the cannabis industry would be any different.
There's no socialist equity, though, in restaurant industry.
Well, and maybe we should talk about reinvesting in communities for industries like tech.
I'm all about
oil.
that. I'm all about that. I'm all about that.
Yep.
And I could go on for days on that and some of the programs that were in
But
place
that's called taxes,
previously.
Jason. I'm sorry. We're about to get into a fist fight, aren't we?
No, we're not. Never. I would
Socialism.
not do
But
that.
take profits from giant corporations and reinvest in the communities? What a concept. I'm sorry.
Redistribution of wealth, Jason.
Yeah, I don't know. It sounds like
so lopsided,
sounds
right?
like
Yeah, just pure
overtaxation with no
socialism.
representation. But nonetheless, we got to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
We're back.
Introduced universal basic income to the hood.
We're back.
Up next, we have the man known best for smoking on the best weed in the world and his unwavering support of our very first socialist president,
Stop
Donald
it.
J. Trump.
You're so full of it. First socialist president. That was before him, bro.
Coming to the stage next, y'all know who it is, Jason Beck.
Oh, yeah. Oh, boy. Good morning, everybody. Hope you are all having a fantastic day today. Man, I'll tell you what. This city, they had no limit, no cap on licenses, but now the Palm Springs issues a temporary ban on new cannabis dispensaries while it considers changes. That's right. The Palm Springs City Council voted unanimously on Thursday night to enact a temporary ban on new cannabis dispensaries. However, the council members did not yet seem to be on the same page about what, if any, long-term steps to take to address an industry that some of them say has become oversaturated
and is on the decline. The moratorium, which was pitched as a way to give the council time to consider its options without letting more businesses open under the existing rules, will be in effect for the 45 days. However, the council will consider extending it at its next meeting on November 9th. A report provided to the council ahead of Thursday's meeting stated that cannabis tax revenues dropped for the second straight fiscal year in Palm Springs and have also been dropping in cities across the valley. The average amount of sales generated per dispensary has also been dropping in the city, which reported having 28 operating dispensaries in January. The council also discussed the several recommendations made by city staff ahead of the meeting about ways to manage the cannabis industry. Those recommendations included capping the number of dispensaries at 15, prohibiting the sale or transfer of existing cannabis permits, and cutting in half the existing cannabis taxes, which are among the highest in the Coachella Valley. While the council didn't make any decisions beyond implementing the moratorium, council members Jeffrey Bernstein and Lisa Middleton appeared to generally favor taking a more aggressive steps towards managing the cannabis industry and limit the number of dispensaries. Mayor Grace Gerner and councilmember Ron DeHardy generally voiced more uncertainty or skepticism about doing so. The fifth council member, Christy Holstage, recused herself from the decision, as she typically does on this topic because her spouse, Palm Springs real estate agent Adam Gilbert, has business ties to the cannabis industry. And Bernstein said he supports a cap because the allure of cannabis has led longtime businesses to lose their leases and landlords to raise their rents in areas popular with cannabis retailers, only for the dispensaries to eventually close. He also said that by letting cannabis businesses proliferate so much, the city has hurt an industry still in its infancy rather than helping it. In a quote, he says, "I would rather help," he said. Middleton agreed with Bernstein and was also concerned about the industry's impact on the real estate market, especially in what she sees as the likely event that many of the existing dispensaries don't make it. However, she said that while cannabis taxes are higher in the city than surrounding ones, she believes oversaturation is ailing the industry more than overtaxation. She said that she was open to cutting taxes but concerned about the hit to city revenues. In a quote, "What we're seeing is city after city trying to cut their taxes significantly in order to save an industry that is just simply overpopulated with distribution points," she said. DeHardy said he did not understand the rationale for one of the proposals, which would anyone from owning, which I don't, they missed a word in this apparently. It says which would anyone from owning multiple dispensaries. I guess they're trying to ban anyone from owning multiple dispensary locations in the city, and said it seemed crazy to him that staff believe Palm Springs has the most dispensaries per capita in California. Garner, meanwhile, said that if Palm Springs does cap the number of dispensaries, the law should be written to ensure it maintains a variety of cannabis retail businesses, including lounges where people can consume on site. She said that's important given that a large part of Palm Springs cannabis market is made up of tourists. She also said any consideration of instituting a cap must take into account not only the city's population, but the number of tourists, and suggested that staff provide the council with data on the impact of retail cannabis tax reductions in neighboring cities. While the city council may vote on extending the moratorium at its next meeting, any larger decisions will likely be made for some time. City staff said the next step would likely be to hold meetings with industry stakeholders to gather further data for the council to consider and discuss in the new year. So basically, they're trying to kick the can down the road, but I want to see what y'all have to say. And this is Jason Beck reporting for the High at 9 News. What do y'all think about this? Crickets, huh?
So the point behind this was to try to protect the operators that were already there because of the extra competition in the Coachella Valley, not just in Palm Springs. And they were really, really struggling at the same time as the social equity program was trying to stand up more retail when retail was saturating there. So
you know what the easy solution for this is, Dale? The super easy
Free market.
solution is to lower the taxes, put a cap, figure out whatever number that they want to have. So let's just say that I think the article referenced that they have over 22 or 25 dispensaries. And so let's just say the city says, oh, you know what, we don't want to have more than 15. Okay, cool. So set the cap at 15, and then whatever dispensaries close in between that time until you get to a number of below 15, then at which point they could issue new licenses. And that's a super easy fix. I don't understand why it's so difficult for these council members to get over that type of a hump.
Well, and right now they're just starting with no more.
Mm-hmm. I understand
Once
that.
Once you start to cap it, you get into a different set of issues, just saying. And that's also where corruption blossoms.
Yeah, but I agree with you on that. But the thing is that most of the corruption blossoms at the point of initial licensure, not opposed to once the businesses are already stand up and operational and they already are at a surplus of licenses.
Yeah, and if there's only a certain limited number of licenses, they grow in value as other things happen. So,
exactly.
Yeah, 6 1/2 dozen the other. How do you pick how many is also one of the questions. You know, Oakland arbitrarily picked 4, and suddenly that became like a one per 100,000 kind of. It was a weird, or 4 per. Yeah, I don't remember the math anymore. But it was completely arbitrary. There were 12 doing very well, and then the mayor Brown said 4. To your point, and then they just started dropping out. Those 4 became hella huge and popular and dominated in the area, Harborside. So, you know, it's how do you choose how many? As you go back to free market to a certain degree.
Yeah, but I mean, I will agree with them that Palm Springs is way oversaturated, and that whole Coachella Valley is super oversaturated with cannabis licenses. And it would be awesome if Palm Springs could work out some deal with other municipalities that don't have that basically don't have any licenses, to migrate some of their licenses into other municipalities with some type of political trade-off or something. I think that would be the best thing for
I'm laughing because they can't even get their shit together in their own city, never mind go negotiate with another city. They can't even figure out how to pay each other taxes from sales that happen in each other's localities.
Maybe
So
one of these cities wants some of their palm
just
trees or
back to
something.
reality real quick. I hate to be-
Jason, does Palm Springs have a limit on how many liquor stores are there?
Great question. Or pharmacies.
I don't know, but at the same time, I mean, you can let the free market dictate on that, and I mean, technically, they could do that too. Just let the free market dictate what happens in Palm Springs. But I'm willing to bet that they're probably in the next few years you won't see more than 15 dispensaries in Palm Springs.
Free market ain't free, man.
It is free.
Jason, you know what I find interesting about this article, kind of looping into one of Dale's good points regarding last article, was this article talks a lot about taxes and if businesses don't survive, what that does to the tax revenue, et cetera, but doesn't speak to, you know, all of the jobs that are lost as well. And, you know, there's a ton of people out there that, you know, may not be interested in entrepreneurship, but are, you know, looking for good, solid paying jobs that, you know, allow them to elevate professionally as well.
Very true. Very, very true. It is a lot of people that these businesses employ, and those are all members of the community as well. That's very true, Chris. Anyone else? All right. Well,
by the way, some information.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Dr.
Cathedral City is just outside of just outside of Palm Springs.
Correct.
Is the number 1, has the most dispensaries per capita in California.
Oh wow! Look at
Santa Cruz number 2.
I had 2 clients in the same strip mall, like literally 3 stores away from each other in Cat City.
Oh boy! Well, thank you so much for that. But coming up next, it is Dr. Gene Talleyrand, who has been writing recommendations longer than most of your parents have probably even been alive. That's right. He's the founder of CESC and the founder of Medican, where you get your recommendations. That's right. It is none other than Dr. Gene Talleyrand.
Thanks. Happy Friday, everyone. Thanks, Jason. My article today is featured in the health and wellness section of the Wall Street Journal. Its title is "The Cannabis That People Are Using for Anxiety is Probably Making It Worse." And there's a subtitle. It's "Anxious Consumers Are Looking for Help and pot companies have promoted their product as an answer. This is by Andrea Peterson and Julie Warnow. So right off the bat, the title tells me where this article is going. When a journalist calls a cannabis organization a pot company, I don't think they've intended to create a balanced presentation of the story. The first sentence confirms my suspicion. Lots of people with anxiety are counting on cannabis's ability to treat their symptoms. There's a problem. The science shows that it probably doesn't help and may make those symptoms worse. I have patients who use it every day. They say it really helps, said Dr. Beth Salcedo, a psychiatrist and medical director of the Ross Center in Washington, D.C., who specializes in treating anxiety disorders. My message is that if it were really working for you, you wouldn't be here with me. The authors describe how promoting products for anxiety is potentially a lucrative market. They point out that the legal cannabis markets have been making $30 billion, should have making $30 billion, but only have been making half, according to the Harvard economist Jeffrey Myron. They failed to point out that the industry has been handcuffed by government regulations. In support of cannabis, the authors quote the titans of the cannabis industry. Erwin David Simon, CEO of Tilray, says, "Is it to replace alcohol, pain for cancer patients, sleep, anxiety? It's all of the above." And Kim Tilray says, consumers are recently connected to cannabis with ear and heart conditions, insomnia, and pain. That article misrepresents the scientific studies on cannabis and anxiety. Reader, beware. To story straight, I'd like to explain anxiety. Anxiety is a natural and a useful tool when a person's under stress or danger. I know I wouldn't have completed my medical training without a little anxiety. Now, anxiety becomes problematic when it's associated with dysfunction. Anxiety can be a double-edged sword. It can be good or it can be bad. And so it's to be managed, but it can't be eliminated. The problem with pharmaceutical drugs like Valium, Ativan, or Xanax is that they temporarily eliminate anxiety without the patient learning how to manage it. Everyone has the potential for anxiety, and everyone should learn how to manage it when it occurs. Cannabis helps patients both recognize anxiety and alleviate the symptoms, but it's not a panacea. At higher doses or after use, it can provoke anxiety. Patients respond by adjusting the dose or stopping cannabis altogether. That's possible because withdrawal symptoms from cannabis are minor compared to the benzodiazepine. This health and wellness feature article describes two people, one who benefited from cannabis and one who didn't. And perhaps that's the point. It's what happens in the real world. Some people benefit from cannabis and some don't. And people who use it because it works. It's also beneficial to talk to a therapist to help manage your anxiety. And if you happen to be living in DC with anxiety and are in need of an understanding psychiatrist who sees your cannabis use for what it is, please try not to consult Dr. Beth Salcedo. This is Dr. Jean Talleyrand with High 9 News.
Oh, man. Shots fired, Dr. T. Shots fired.
They found all the idiots in this article.
Oh, man. That was awesome, bro. That was awesome. Yeah. Man, I mean, anxiety, I mean, doesn't this kind of just go along with the other trend is that people that already suffer from schizophrenia shouldn't probably smoke cannabis because of that, and this just falls into that same type of category, Dr. T?
Well, I wouldn't even say that. I have schizophrenics as patients who manage their symptoms very well with cannabis. And so It's a one-on-one thing. Some people it benefits and some it doesn't, like most substances. And so to villainize it is the problem. And this is what this article is trying to do, try to villainize cannabis.
Quick question, Dr. T, because pharmaceutical drugs, all right, generally only help about 10% of the population that it's designed to help. Do you think that as far as with cannabis, that it helps a higher percentage than what pharmaceutical drugs do as far as with helping members of those populations?
Yeah, I don't have those numbers, so I can't back that up in terms of the pharmaceutical, but I think we do have some numbers on cannabis. About 20% are using it in Canada. So we're just finding out.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like
who knows?
So
it could be 20, it could be 30%.
So based on those,
and we're also usually
we're
measuring people that have problems. Like, part of the problem is we often only look at the people that are having problems and then reverse engineering, and used cannabis. We're not looking at all the people that have no problems and use cannabis. They're not presenting and they're not admitting to what else they're consuming. And Jason, I think earlier you might have been conflating what triggers the first psychotic episode, or the first where you didn't know you had a problem until, and then I would point out that there's a holy list of other things that are often the trigger for that first episode that are not cannabis, that happen more often than cannabis being that first trigger. So it's in search of the problem in a way that is not honest, because we're not taking an honest slice of the American pie. We're only scooping the problems off the top and then staring at that, looking for the connection.
Well, America loves the froth, Dale.
It is frothy. Well said.
Well, frothy.
Yes.
How do you answer that?
Oh man. Oh, that was great. Thank you so much for that, Dr. T. We appreciate that. We're gonna go to a commercial and we're gonna be right back.
Relying on 25 years of commercial hydroponic experience, King Solomon Nutrients has engineered the best liquid and dry fertilizer products for cannabis that preserves the crop, the soil, and the environment. Through relentless passion, research, and innovation, King Solomon has developed simplified cannabis crop nutrition you can trust. It was created for farmers, by farmers. Don't mess around. Try the crown.
Oh yeah, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button, and also too, please make sure that you're subscribed to the channel if you have not subscribed already. And all of the articles that you hear on today's show, you can read at our website at www.highat9news.com. Make sure you check it out today.
How's it going, guys? Saman Razani coming to you from Green Street here with Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast available on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify? Tune in now and check it out.
I suggest you look up all the definitions of froth in the Urban Dictionary before you do that in public.
Oh man.
Oh Jesus.
Oh boy.
Yeah, here we go.
I'm just saying.
Yes.
Saying.
Lots of
Oh,
froth.
I should appreciate the tip. I am not a mass of small bubbles, but I am a heavy substance. So thank you, Dr. Mark.
Could be a
Only-
frothy
only-
tip.
Maybe lippy is
Up
better
next.
than
Dale bringing the heat on this
Yes.
Friday morning. All right, so up next, this fellow dope dad's a former police officer who traded in his issue gun and badge for a blunt and a notepad. Now a security consultant at CC Security Solutions, breaking us off with a little Friday knowledge guaranteed to improve our chances of weekend survival. It's Chris Edgars.
Rico Lamitte, great to see you, buddy. Thanks for hello, everybody, my fellow correspondents. Hope everyone's week's going amazing. My article today comes out of Siskiyou County, and the headline reads, Police discover 4,400 pounds of marijuana during Siskiyou County traffic stop. During the traffic stop, they found 44 pounds of marijuana after a police officer pulled over a 43-year-old driver from Hollywood, California, for ignoring a stop sign. Because of ignoring the stop sign, according to police, that driver almost crashed into a semi-truck along State Route 97. According to a Facebook post from the Siskiyou County Sheriff's Office, the driver apologized for the near accident and then opened the trunk to reveal the marijuana, which he says he bought from a legal farm in the Shasta Vista area. Here's a quote from the article. From the Facebook post. None of the cannabis had the proper labeling as required by the California Department of Cannabis Control, the DCC, which allows dispensaries to verify that the product is legally and safely produced and permitted for commercial sale, the post said. Through further conversation, it was revealed that the cannabis was headed to a licensed Los Angeles area dispensary for which the driver worked. Also discovered in the vehicle was a backpack with approximately $16,000 in cash and a notebook documenting previous cannabis purchases. The driver was cited by for violating the California Health and Safety Code, according to this post. And then the post went on to say that the discovery is a trend that we are seeing in Siskiyou County, where licensed dispensaries are buying illegally grown marijuana from the Mount Shasta Vista and Butte Valley areas, said the post. Marijuana grown from these locations is often treated with unregulated and highly toxic pesticides that are banned in California. When marijuana is grown illegally, like we predominantly see in the Siskiyou County, cultivators may not adhere to the same health and safety regulations that legal growers are subject to, and as a result, the products may be highly toxic, end quote. That was all from the Siskiyou County Sheriff's Office Facebook page post. So I think, this article lends itself to a few different discussions. Appreciate you letting me contribute on this Friday. Again, hope everybody had a great week and great to see you guys. Curious what you think.
Chris, this guy crashed, and then they found all this product
Near crash. He allegedly ran a stop sign, almost caused an accident, and that's when he was pulled over.
I feel like that's going around because there was another story this morning in Temple City in LA where 2 people were arrested after a U-Haul truck filled with bags of marijuana crashed into the gates of a police and fire station in Sierra Madre. So
yep.
This
all that headline.
Yeah, this is something that's going around the town apparently.
So listen, the driver was cited, and it looks like cited and released. I didn't pull up the Siskiyou County jail records, but as they say, Jason, don't break the law when you're breaking the law.
Exactly, break one law at a time. One law at a time.
That's what we teach at Oaksterdam.
You teach one law, break one law at a time.
Break one law at a time.
So that means like if you're at home stealing cable, that means don't have an illegal grow at your house.
Indeed. And if you have a lot of cannabis in your trunk, don't run a stop sign. Don't run into the back of a police truck. It's just...
Yeah.
What about California stops?
Electricity, all the things.
What's that, Chris?
Jason, I would argue with you. Instead of saying if you're stealing cable, don't have an illegal grow, I would more appropriately reword that and to say if you have an illegal grow, don't steal cable. How about that?
I mean...
people still steal cable? Cable still exists?
Yeah, 100% it does.
That's a good point.
God, I just have a catalytic converter stolen out of my... Yes.
See, people steal all kinds of stuff. People are thirsty right there. People are thirsty like the plants in the back.
And also pay your taxes on all that illegal money you're making. Just saying.
How do you pay your taxes on illegal money, Dale? That sounds like
you pay your taxes on all your money. Sam don't care
Sam
how you made it.
That part is true.
We're in the middle of a world water crisis right now.
Yes.
So much thirst out there.
Yeah,
so much thirst in the streets.
But on that, we're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smokey Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get yourself a stretch and smoke with Smokey Vanilla.
That's right, baby. I'm Smokey Vanilla with my background in kinesiology. I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on athletes who have chronic pain or injury due to their sport, or the legends of the chronic in the game, baby.
Oh, yeah, you know what it is. We just stretched, and now we're gonna smoke, because you know what it is.
That's right. I love intuitively creating a session based on the individual I'm working with. We'll go through a few assessments, look at the past health history, injury, or anything that's still affecting you today, and create a customized session just for you. Let's go.
Oh, yes, that's right. Coming up next, she is the chancellor in charge over at Oaksterdam University. And that's right, she is here to tell you all about what you're doing wrong in life. That's right, it is none other than the Keeping Up with the Joneses herself, Mrs. Dale Sky Jones.
Good Lord, I am here to be your hit of hope today.
Yeah.
Mr. Jones. Hot coffee.
I
Thank
love
you, Mr.
hope.
Jones.
I love hope, Mrs. Jones.
We need a little hope in the world right now. It is particularly rough. So this one, yes, a little more lighthearted, a little closer to home. Actually, it's calling from inside the house, most likely. This story is coming to us from the New York Times, very substantial, by Sridhar Pappu. Like many spouses, kindred spirits has a lot of marital grievances, but hers are not like everyone else's. There was a time when her husband, Peter, left an envelope with thousands of dollars of cash on the roof of his car and drove off. Or the time he left their son's car seat on the side of the road. No indication the child was in the car seat at the time. Being married to a stoner can be really frustrating, Mrs. Sparks said. It really tests your patience when you are clear-headed and when your partner is not. Miss Sparks is one half of this new kind of American couple. I don't think it's all that new, folks. Made up of one person who partakes in cannabis use and one who does not. And with adult use cannabis, or as they call it, recreational marijuana, now legal in more than 20 states, a joint or cannabis gummy has become as routine as a glass of Chardonnay in some quarters. But as the drug enters the mainstream of American social life, the rules surrounding its usage can be, well, hazy, as many couples are trying to figure out how to fit it into their lives with the least disruption. Now, this particular article goes on for quite a while to talk about several different couples and how they've reached various compromises on cannabis. For one couple who both work in the cannabis industry, the husband smokes and the wife stopped smoking when she became pregnant with her first child and never went back to it. Their compromise is the husband consumes gummies after the wife and kids go to bed. Later in the article, the chief executive of a matchmaking firm said that the issue of adult use cannabis had come up more in the last couple of years among her clients. If you are a smoker or enjoy edibles or whatever, you have to communicate that openly and effectively with your partner. And then, as partnership going forward, you have to decide how to compromise if the other person does not enjoy the activity and you do. Rather than read the details, because all of us have or have had partners, I thought it would also be a little bit fun to save the time for talking about it, because I know in my personal life, like similar to discussions about, in anyone's life, drinking socially. Drinking, I think, is another really clear example of needing to have that clear communication, not just of where and how often one might be drinking, but also if you're drinking, not just socially, but home alone by yourself when maybe the kids could use a bath. So it could also potentially be comparable to, an obsessive hobby or just a strong hobby. And I'm going to go ahead and throw in religious practices, which might be hot for some people. But I say that because cannabis truly does reach a fervor as truly important to some people, especially if they're viewing it as their medicine or their little helper that gets them through the day. And while cannabis isn't as chemically addictive as cigarettes or alcohol, and cigarettes are, secondhand smoke, alcohol behaviors, those around you, increases in domestic violence and accidents. Cannabis is truly a harm reduction technique. And I wonder what these partners might be utilizing as their crutch if they didn't have cannabis as well. I left an alcoholic years ago. Alcohol was a major inflection for my grandmother. My grandfather died of alcoholism, and it's living with an alcoholic is, talk about leaving $1,000 on the roof. Let me tell you about the thousands of dollars lost in gambling at the bar. It's just, pick a problem. And to the point of forcing a partner to give up something that they care about in order to be with you. One of these women actually said she divorced her first husband because she felt he smoked too much cannabis, and now her second husband smokes cannabis, but that's okay. It also just makes me wonder how much of this is societal pressure and stigma versus just the behaviors of an absent-minded jackass who also happens to enjoy cannabis. Cannabis doesn't make you stupid. It's just stupid people also like cannabis. And it's not causation, it's correlation, once again, as we talked about it. So, yeah, I'd love to open up that conversation.
Oh, man. I mean, isn't this what man caves are for, Dale?
Woman caves. I mean, I did not marry an army boy because I sat down and realized, oh shit, I'm never going to be able to smoke weed again. And I realized I loved cannabis more than him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, shit's real.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jeff brought me flowers.
Oh, was it a weed flower? Like the one in the back?
Yeah. I never been a fan of cut flowers because I always felt like it was a waste of money. And then years in, I made a comment that I liked Jeff because he didn't waste money on flowers. And he like, his whole face just so crushed. He's like, I brought you so many flowers when we were dating. And I'm like, oh, he did.
You know what? You know what's funny is I always, anytime I give women weed, I'll be like, this is your flowers. Here you go.
These are your flowers.
Yes, these are your flowers. These are the flowers you like better.
I married a grower. That's who I married and had kids with.
See, Dan?
It's better than the plant behind me. He's mad at me. I don't do well growing. I forgot to water it for 2 days, so please don't blame.
Just some water.
Not me. I teach politics and science. I do not teach growing.
They'll teach you all about watering plants at Oaksterdam University.
I am not as thirsty as my plant. I have Mr. Jones. Yes. But I'm going to be in so much trouble for this.
Oh, man, this is great.
He's teaching garden club right now, so he can't hear me.
Oh, don't worry. Well, I'll make sure to text him the link to this episode.
Tell him later,
yeah.
And then I'm going to be in trouble.
I'm going to send him the link to this episode so he can make sure to tune in and watch it later.
Oh, you're just a stand-up guy, Jason.
That's what I do.
Appreciate it.
I'm here for the people.
You just got to communicate. That's the point of the story.
Just communication. I mean, don't you find it a little? And Rico, you're on mute. But don't you find it a little hypocritical of the woman who was with one husband and didn't like cannabis consumption, and then all of a sudden got a new one, and now she's cool with it? Or do you think she just evolved on the issue like other politicians?
When I was out there in them streets, man, I was out there single. That was a huge red flag. If she didn't smoke weed, I would not. If there's a prerequisite, you gotta love weed and gotta love dogs.
It's actually cheaper, bro. It's actually cheaper though, Rico. It's actually cheaper if she doesn't like weed.
You don't like weed.
It's cheaper if she doesn't like weed. Yeah, then it's like one less thing. Cheaper.
I used to think I was a cheap date because I'm a vegetarian who didn't drink.
Why can't she bring her own, man? I'm a feminist. She can bring her shit to the party. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, you're a feminist now. Interesting.
You can be a part-time provider, part-time supporter. You know what I'm saying?
I'm a feminist when I'm cutting clones. I'm a feminist when I'm cutting clones, Rico.
It's not in my household. In my household, it's man work.
See?
Yeah.
It's man work.
Good. He grows the flowers.
Well, that's the man work is providing, and that's what that does is provide. So he's tilling the land.
He's an excellent provider.
Shout out to the Joneses out there, keeping up with the Joneses today. Man.
Anybody else on the team?
Everyone got quiet. I'm like, let's talk about our partners. Y'all are like, no.
No, I got crickets up here.
Yeah.
Y'all want to talk about?
Why don't we take a poll in the chat here on YouTube? And so the folks who are in YouTube,
y'all still hiding? Y'all still in the shadows?
Does your spouse smoke or not?
So I don't know what y'all are saying.
Adam,
yes or no?
Adam, can you throw a poll up in the chat? Does your spouse smoke? Yes or no?
Your significant
so I think you guys know that my story was I went to a Grateful Dead concert. I smelled the weed. And I was like, I want to smoke the weed that I smell at the Grateful Dead concert, which was really great NorCal weed that was coming across the country out to New Jersey and New York. And then I said, well, I looked around at all the girls at the Grateful Dead. I said, I want to marry myself a Grateful Dead smoking girl. And that's what I did. And I'm 27 years married, happily married. And I think that's the secret to my success.
We're good girls.
Love that.
Congrats, Dr. Mark.
Yeah, so we gotta
It's a
keep it
crushing
rolling.
the
We're
goals
running
right
out.
there.
Oh, there's
We're running out
Stone.
of time
There's
here.
Stone. What's going on, Stone?
Yeah, so
Stone
yeah,
must
we
have
are
wanted to
running out
talk
of.
about his man cave.
Surprise.
Oh, I
You want to
guess
come
so.
talk about his partner smoking
We're
weed?
at
No.
55.
Go
Gotta keep it
ahead.
rolling
Go
here.
ahead.
So, yeah, this highly recognized expert in organic chemistry specialized in natural product chemistry, plant oil extraction, analysis, and chemical modification. But what y'all didn't know about Dr. Mark Scialdone is that around Halloween each year, he suits up in the shadows, calling out boof cart peddlers coast to coast as the urban legendary hero, Professor Dark Calzone. Coming to the stage, Dr. Mark, what you got for us today, my man?
Hey,
Got a
thanks,
delay on
Rico,
your
for the nice
man.
introduction. Rico, it's again great to have you back. You look great. You sound great. Well, we're going to talk about my favorite and our favorite THC isomer, Delta 8. So my story comes from the marijuana moment. It's entitled Nebraska Attorney General Files Lawsuits Over Delta 8 Products on Store Shelves. And the quote, I don't know if this is a quote from the governor or a quote from somebody in state, but the quote in the article is, "We know Delta 8 is a bad chemical. It's a bad drug and it hurts people." Close quotes. Oh, I don't know where they're getting that information from, but anyway, pointing to what he called mislabeled and dangerous THC containing products made to look like nerds, Fritos, and other child enticing treats, Nebraska's Attorney General on Wednesday announced an unprecedented action to protect consumers. The accumulation of a month-long investigation, Attorney Mike Edgars, who's a Republican, by the way, said his office has filed lawsuits against retailers in at least 10 counties across the state alleging violations of consumer protection and deceptive trade practices. His focus is on Delta 8 products. And he says the lawsuit filed Wednesday are separate from any pending criminal investigations by area law enforcement agencies. In 2018, the Farm Bill opened up the hemp industry nationally, putting a legal limit on Delta 9 THC, but not addressing regulation of Delta 8. States have been grappling with this loophole. And then they show an image of the Nebraska Attorney General's tweet on X, and it says, "Today, our office launched a major statewide action against retailers selling mislabeled and deceptive THC containing products that present dangers to Nebraskans." Of 100 items that were tested during the probe by the Attorney General's office, Edgars said about 15% were inaccurately labeled or labeled that were clearly labeled for ingredients and potency. The synthetic process by which Delta 8 is manufactured can inject harmful solvents, heightening his alarm. "It's a Russian roulette that Nebraskans are losing," said Edgars. At least one of the proprietors who is targeted, however, criticized the Attorney General's action as a political stunt aimed at instilling fear in Nebraskans. The Attorney General is saying we are misleading. We are not, said Kim Rockwell, owner of vape shops in Lincoln and Keith counties that are being sued. He said he was blindsided by the accusations, which he first heard about Wednesday from reporters, and stands by his operation as being legal. Another shop owner noted that a retailer she gets cannabis product from large vendors that come with a certificate of analysis. In the states, testing showed that the discrepancy with Tracy Wild Smith of Greenhouse Grandmas in Dog County, by all means, it shall be taken off the shelf. So they're saying if it doesn't meet the COA, they'd take it off the shelf. However, Wild Smith said she also was unaware of the state's worries, and as of Wednesday evening, hadn't even gotten any notice of any legal action. Lawsuits, among other things, alleged that the business model targeted shops including Grandma's Greenhouse to entice, ultimately ensnare Nebraska's most vulnerable consumers, teenagers and children. The Attorney General contends that the maximum financial gains of the retailers misled the public about the dangers of their THC-containing product. During the news conference, Hilgard shows pictures of brand name products such as Fritos and Nerds alongside products containing THC. As part of the action, the state has sent letters to the companies of Frito-Lay and Ferrera Candies who own those trademarks. We presume that without your knowledge or license or intellectual property rights are being infringed here in Nebraska, one letter said. Letters signed by Hilgers also invoked the upcoming Halloween trick-or-treating custom, saying that real candy undoubtedly will be the popular choice and it should be protected. Real candy should be protected. Do they know how much diabetes is in this country? Sorry. The Attorney General also had issued consumer protection warnings to help educate parents, teachers, and families about the dangers of these products. Calls to other dispensaries targeted by the office were not immediately answered. A manager of Chasing Clouds Vape in Columbus, for example, referred a reporter to a owner in Norfolk, and calls there went unanswered. A person answering the phone at the cannabis factory in Lincoln, the store, said that the store is not commenting on the reporter's pending investigation. It goes on and talks to a couple other shop owners. I did a little homework, and what I found is that they don't even have medical in Nebraska. They have nothing. Cannabis is completely illegal. So this is just all, again, vape shops that are selling hemp-derived cannabinoids that are crossing state lines. But, if you smoke a joint of real cannabis on the corner outside one of these stores, you'll get arrested for smoking cannabis. I think they've actually reduced it down to civil infractions in most major populated areas of Nebraska. But there is an organization called Nebraska's for Medical Marijuana. So there is sort of a movement in the state pushing this thing forward. But this is, again, the state coming after these Delta-8 and hemp-derived psychoactive cannabinoids that are coming into the state. I'd like to hear what everyone else has to think. That's my story for today. Dr. Mark from the shores here of Lake Champlain in the beautiful state of Vermont. Love to hear what you guys have to say.
Open up the market.
Nebraska's fervently against all this legalization, medical and otherwise.
Mm-hmm. And Nebraska is a nasty, nasty place.
And the Dakotas.
Yes.
Both Nebraska and Kansas, which neighbor Colorado, I think actually set up stings just over the state line because they know that cars with East Coast plates should be pulled over because most likely they're bringing contraband from Colorado through their non-legal state. Dale, and I think, wasn't there not a federal case, but I thought that Kansas or one of Colorado's neighboring states was trying to sue Colorado.
That was a while ago. I remember that. Yes. Over
2 states were trying to sue Colorado. Yep. Yes, and that I think it was Kansas and Nebraska actually.
It was Kansas and Nebraska.
Right.
Yes. Yep.
They want it in the corn.
Yeah. Well, not to mention too, Dr. Mark, a lot of Colorado plates are profiled when they cross into Nebraska or to Kansas as well, just automatically assuming that they are going to have contraband inside the vehicle.
That was the case long before cannabis was made legal.
Yeah.
Sometime I heard that they put a fake sign on the interstate there, I-70, saying that there's a checkpoint coming up. And so the exit just before the checkpoint, That's where the cops are, right? So they see all these people pulling over at that exit because they need to readjust their
Oh,
shift for the checkpoint.
I like that. That's a good one. I'm not mad at that. I'm not
Well, the
mad at
people
that.
who get busted that way don't like that at all.
Oh man, I'm just saying, you got to get creative nowadays, and that's
Because you
pretty
can't hate
creative for
the
them. Yeah.
player,
Yeah,
right? Hate the
exactly.
game.
Exactly. Don't hate the player, hate
Well,
the
and
game.
and
Exactly.
and
Yeah,
what I can tell you, because I actually
definitely
know
put
some
that
farmers out there, is that I believe Nebraska and Kansas still has feral hemp growing, like in ditches and
wow.
in the sides of roads,
Absolutely.
because when hemp was being grown for the war effort around
Yeah.
1943 and
Yep.
1944,
Mm-hmm.
those seeds just sort of went to the wind. And so there is still feral hemp. And those are the two states where you find it, Nebraska and Kansas.
Interesting you call it feral
And the
hemp.
Dakotas.
Interesting you call it feral hemp.
What would you call it?
I just call it hemp. You know what I mean? Just natural, organic hemp, just living off the land. Like maybe Davy
Wow.
Jones, maybe Davy Jones hemp, something like that.
There you go. It's a scab.
Johnny
It's
Appleseed.
a scab sucking off the teat of America. Is that what's going on, Jason?
No, it's actually cleaning the soil and remediating all the farmland, everything, all of that stuff, Rico.
It's making America better.
It's working. It's working.
Tricking dumb teenagers.
It's a working plant.
Giving 'em-
Mm-hmm.
Hemp.
Hemp.
Make America great again.
That's
again.
right. And again.
But thank you all for joining us for yet another week of High at 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays at 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to our super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen, and live audience and online supporters, catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the daily headlines of chaos we also call the developing cannabis industry. To our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table as well. To our production team and all of our sponsors, keeping the lights on and our AV struggles to a minimum. And always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason the High at 9 News team reads these headlines daily. Thank you. It has been Friday, October 27th, 2023. The show's over. You've all been blessed with the week's top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until Monday. And Dale Scott Jones, you got the outro today. Welcome back.
Oh,
Good to
good
have you.
Lord. I am not ready. All right. Well, first and foremost, I hope you have a very fun, safe, happy, healthy, spooky Halloween. I brought my black kitten to the party, meet Skunky Duckling, and hopefully, yeah, she's not happy to be here right now. Hopefully, you have a beautiful weekend. And yeah, keep looking for that hit of hope. Take care of yourself, take care of one another. If you can, definitely take care of someone else. And just stay high at 9 and the rest of the time if you can handle it. Beautiful day and an even better weekend.